I had like 3 experiences that I already shared, but there was a part of it that I left out because I wanted to like ponder it, think about it, go over it, as well as because I was a little like confused too. But here it goes. I had 3 experiences where in each case I started to think it's not real. It's some kind of program or projection or illusion. Well, when I went to the causal plane, I was wearing a blue robe, and a voice said, "You're here to pick up some tools." So as I'm floating in the causal plane above what looked like a giant castle or giant mansion that was crystal clear, there was nothing I could see right through it. An opening opened up on the roof of the castle or mansion, and as I'm slowly going down there, slowly floating downward between the ceiling and the floor, someone in authority came over and said, "You don't have permission to be here," and blah blah this and blah blah that. And I said, and I'm really surprised that I said this, but I said to it, "Blah blah blah. You're just part of my creation, and this is my universe." When I said that, it froze. And when it froze, and I was wondering, how could it freeze if it's a true living being? I'm thinking it could only freeze if it's not real. So I pondered that and wondered, well, what is going on here that my other self could freeze this being that was pretty big and giant? I'm like, how could that be? But anyways, after I picked up the tools and then left, then it became unfrozen. But when it became unfrozen, as I'm leaving, I somehow popped out of my body that I was in the blue robe, and I had this other awareness where I had no body. It was just an awareness. And the being, when it became unfrozen, it tried to come after me, but I told it to stop, and it did. It stopped. When it stopped, it started to say that it was this title and that title, and each time that it said it was this title and that title, it started to shrink. It started to become smaller. And again, I'm wondering, oh my goodness, again, a real being wouldn't start shrinking and shrinking each time it tried to be so arrogant. So that was one experience where I really pondered that this is some kind of illusion, some kind of projection, not real. And then in another one where I'm going before the Lords of Karma, or one Lord of Karma, because I had read that Duane had shown an experience where Harold and Joan were going before the Lords of Karma, and they look kind of spooky, or they sound kind of spooky the way he writes it. My Lord of Karma was just this a yellow and white being that was like maybe 8 feet tall, and he had this bright light shining, and I could tell that you cannot escape any kind of lies or white lies. I mean, you're right there before the Lord of Karma, and I couldn't hear what he was telling me, but I knew he was telling me, like, it was almost sounded like he was nagging me, like I had done something that I wasn't supposed to do. But all of a sudden, I said to it, well, excuse me for helping the human beings and the earth. When I said that, the Lord of Karma froze. Again, he froze. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it's not real. What's going on here? I was yanked away in an upward direction, and it almost like gave me a headache, even though this was a lucid dream. It almost gave me a headache because the way I was yanked away. But anyways, that's a second time that I pondered that this is not, it's some kind of illusion. It's not real. And so that was that second experience. And then the third one was when the giant head of, I don't know what God it was or supervisor it was, but it nagged at me that when I was reading Duane's book, it came right in the living room, and the head was as big as from the floor to the ceiling. And I didn't know if this was real or projection. What is that? I was really scared. What is this? But when it spoke to me, I noticed that the lips did not match how it was speaking. So I'm thinking it must be speaking a different language, but I'm hearing it in English. So when it spoke, it said, I don't appreciate that you're calling me the janitor or the supervisor or the maintenance worker. Because when I read Duane's books, whenever he says to God this or God that, I change it to supervisor or janitor or maintenance worker, because I come from a Christian background, and I want to get over that they are not gods. They, whatever it is, they're not gods. They're not. I have to keep reminding myself that no, they're not gods. So I always say supervisor, janitor, maintenance worker whenever Duane says God in his books. So this thing that was really giant head said, I don't appreciate that you're calling me a janitor or a supervisor. Well, and I told it, well, I don't appreciate that you lied to me. Well, when I said that, it started to say that it almost wanted to get angry, but then all of a sudden a presence came forward, and I could feel a really strong presence surrounding me. I don't know if it was my true self or the guides, but as it tried to get angry, it said that it was this grandiose thing, this titles. Here go again with the titles. And each time it said a title, it started to shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink. And I go, and when I told that experience, I didn't mention that I was thinking, oh, again, another, this is like, it's not real. It's something else, some kind of illusion. So I just want to say that experience because I'm already getting 3 hints. I just realized that I was getting 3 hints that these beings are just some kind of illusion and they're not real. But the way Rebazar deals with them, like he still gives them a kind of respect that they're this title and or that title. But sometimes these beings they tell Rebazar that he's mocking them because he knows what they really are. Because even these beings called Rebazar the God Man. So I just wanted to bring that out, that starting to realize that they're not real, there's some kind of illusion. And so anybody that they control, anything that they control, their agents, whatever, they're part of that. If it can freeze, then I'm wondering, can we freeze its agents? So that's my experience.
It's good, Ramone. It's a great experience.
Sounds like you're talking about a blowfish. when you expose it, it just deflates. Maybe you think about it that way.
Okay.
And you're facing it, which is the main thing. You're facing it, so basically it dissipates, or it shows its true form. All deception shows up.
Yeah, you took the power from it. Think of it in the sense of a hotel manager.
And just keep calling them maintenance man or supervisors, or that's great.
Well, that's what one of the Golden Guides once called them. So that's why I do that now.
Janitors.
I will share this experience because as Ramone was sharing his own, it reminded me of an experience I had, and I wrote it down a lot of months ago, but I had an experience where I was in a city, and it was just like San Francisco or New York, some big city, whatever. And there was all these people going to and fro, and some are wearing suits, some are in their casual wear, some are, doing this and that. And I remember instead of joining the crowd and walking around, I just sat down. I just sat on my rear and I just kind of sat there and I watched everybody walking past me and around me. And I had this conscious recognition or awareness that all of the people around me and all of the scenery, all of the buildings are a conscious projection of myself. Like I created everything around me. So if I created everything around me, I can freeze it. I can stop the going to and fro, because, like, where are they really going and doing and all of that. So I froze it. I put my hands out both left and right, and I kind of pushed them outward as if I was shoving something back or just kind of projecting my hands outward, and I froze everything around me, and everybody stopped. And I remember I was like, okay, now I'm going to bring all of this back to a center point. Instead of them projecting left and projecting right, I'm going to bring them together to a very fine center point, like a razor. And as I froze everything and was starting to sort of bring everything together, I saw a woman in a purple jacket and her holding the hand of a young child, and she was running away down the street. And when I saw them running, because everyone else is frozen, they're the only ones moving, I had the recognition that those are real beings. Those aren't projections that I created. Those are real beings. How did they get in this experience, in this arena of experience? And I remember that was pretty much the end of the experience. I didn't go chase them, and it was kind of just prompted me to ask, well, who are they? But it reminds me of Ramone's experience to where, they froze like that. So there's something created. It's like an illusion.
It reminds me of Inception. Did you see that movie, Inception?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was something like that, because I remember I had that experience where I brought them together to that center point. That I didn't do that right away. That came later on, to where I was folding everything like another cityscape, and I was folding it into that like center point. And it was interesting that as I started folding it into that center point, I was in a blank space, and now that blank space is kind of the setting for a lot of the experiences that take place now. They just like whatever's happening right there in front of me seems to be the message or the view.
Thanks for sharing. It's cool.